Hi, welcome to Bookey, which unlock big ideas from world bestsellers in audio, text, and mind map. Please download Bookey at Apple Store or Google Play with more features. Get your free mind snack now. Today we will unlock the book The Lean Startup, How Today's Entrepreneurs Use Continuous Innovation to Create Radically Successful Businesses. In an era of unprecedented entrepreneurial renaissance, how could a startup stand out from fierce competition and succeed? A great product, an amazing team, or an extraordinary idea? The answer is none of these. A business with a great product could easily fail if its marketing strategy is improper, but even a perfect marketing strategy does not guarantee success. A startup with both a good product and a marketing strategy in line with market demands might gain some early success, but it could still fail from blind expansion and excessive operating expenses. Even a world-renowned company like Kodak could eventually go bankrupt due to its inability to adapt to market changes and transform its business. On top of idea, product, team, and other elements, a startup that wants to be successful and continue to grow needs to have a set of scientific management practices. If a company can do this, it will develop and grow in an orderly manner and put itself in a nearly invincible position. Many startups fail due to improper management practices, so some entrepreneurs try to imitate the management practices of those long-established enterprises. But they neglected one fact: although the traditional enterprises have mature management models, their models are not applicable or appropriate for startups. The practices of traditional enterprises are based on a stable market environment, while startups face a chaotic market environment with extreme uncertainty. As a result, the conventional management practices are not helpful to the development of startups, and sometimes those practices may even introduce bureaucracy and kill creativity instead. On the other hand, some other entrepreneurs do the exact opposite. They completely abandon the conventional management principles and just follow their instincts. But this also doesn't guarantee success and can be problematic. So how exactly should entrepreneurs manage their startups in order to succeed? This book proposes the idea of a lean startup. By developing a minimum viable product, MVP, a startup could quickly validate if a product meets customers' needs at the minimum cost and in the shortest time. The process is called validated learning, which can help entrepreneurs improve their chances of success. The concept of lean startup was highly regarded after being tested in the market. It's also been extensively reported in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Harvard Business Review, the Huffington Post and many other media. Ries, the author of the book, is the co-founder and CTO of IMVU and also an entrepreneur in residence at Harvard Business School. He created the concept of lean startup and established IMVU using this method. Ries provides consulting services related to business and product strategy for a number of startups, large companies, and venture capital institutions. He's helped many startups to succeed. In this Bookey, we will analyze the Lean Startup book in 3 parts. Part 1, The Fundamentals of a Lean Startup. Part 2, Using Lean Startup to Achieve Early Success. Part 3, How to Further Grow a Startup. First, let's take a look at what a lean startup is. The idea of lean startup comes from the concept of lean production, which was originally proposed by Taiichi Ohno and Shigeo Shingo from Japanese automaker Toyota. It refers to the reduction of production scale for each batch in order to achieve real-time production and zero inventory. This way the production line can effectively minimize the waste. Ries modified the concept of lean production to apply it to entrepreneurship, and then built the scientific management model for startups, the lean startup. The public often thinks all entrepreneurs came from humble beginnings, like how Steve Jobs started his career in his father's garage. But Ries thinks differently. He clearly defines entrepreneurship in this book as follows: under extreme uncertainty, any institution that's established to create new products and services is a startup, and anyone who works at such an institution is an entrepreneur. The fundamental activity of a startup is to turn ideas into products, measure how customers respond, and then learn whether to pivot or persevere. Now, this sounds simple enough, but in reality, there are many difficulties. Startups operate in an uncertain environment, where they typically don't know who their customers are going or what their products should look like. Even after conducting a thorough market analysis and creating discrete development strategies, entrepreneurs can't guarantee that everything will go as planned. Ries has made an interesting analogy on how to develop a strategy. Starting a business is like driving a car rather than launching a rocket. During the launch of a rocket, every thrust, every firing of a booster, and every change in direction must be done strictly according to plan, and there is no room for any error. Driving is different, because there is no specific command on when to turn the steering wheel or when to hit the brake. We only need to drive towards our destination and make adjustments based on road conditions. In the same way, entrepreneurs should avoid making a strategy that is too complicated and specific, because the strategy needs to be constantly adjusted based on real situations. The process of continuous adjustments is known as the build, measure, learn feedback loop. The build, measure, learn feedback loop system is the core content of a startup model, and the inevitable path for every startup looking for success. After having an idea, the entrepreneurs first turn it into a product. Then, they introduce the product to the market, get feedback and collect data from interactions with customers, learn from the feedback and data, work on development again, and create a new product. All of these actions make up the feedback system. Of course, people with different jobs only work on a certain part of the loop. For instance, an engineer will get new information from customers' feedback and use that info to develop new products. A manager will focus on product conception, the early product, or different data and indicators. However, these are not the key factors that could determine a startup's success. What a startup needs is to concentrate and minimize the total time needed for the build, measure, learn feedback loop. Only by doing this can companies acquire more validated learning, avoid unnecessary waste, and develop the products that could better meet customers' needs. With that in mind, let's take a moment to focus on the concept of validated learning. Let's assume you are a professional manager responsible for business development at a large firm. Unfortunately, things didn't go well and you got neither new revenue nor new customers after a year. Now, if you tell investors that although the company didn't achieve anything, you learned a lot and will definitely make it in another year, the investors will most likely see that as an excuse and won't give you another chance. Starting a business is quite risky, and it's nearly impossible to avoid failure. Learning from failures is indeed very important, but that sounds like a truism. We can't spend what we learn nor can we invest in it. Upon failure, saying we have learned a lot to investors or partners, sounds more like an excuse to cover up the failure. Because of this, the book redefines the empty concept of learning and calls it validated learning instead. Validated learning starts with a clear hypothesis that offers a forecast about what is going to happen. Those forecasts will then be validated by empirical methods to provide insightful conclusions. This process will eventually help us build a business that is sustainable. Validated learning is a scientific measurement of startup progress. In traditional management, work progress can be easily measured, but in startups, the real progress is often covered up by the extremely uncertain environment. If we can't have a good grasp of our business's development states in time, we may go too far down the wrong path and eventually fail. Validated learning is an effective way to solve this problem. It allows teams to understand the real state of a startup, make timely adjustments to their development strategies, and avoid unnecessary waste. That concludes the first part of this Bookey, The Fundamentals of a Lean Startup. Lean startup is a modification of the concept lean production, which is integrated with entrepreneurship to create a scientific management practice for startups. The build, measure, learn feedback loop system proposed by Ries is the core content of the lean startup model. It's also a proven path for every startup that wants to succeed. Only by minimizing the total time of the build, measure, learn feedback loop, entrepreneurs can gain more validated learning and avoid waste. Today we are just sharing limited content. To unlock more key insights of world-class bestseller, please download our app. Just search for Bookey at Apple Store or Google Play. Get your free mind snack now.